Hi, welcome everyone. Glad to see everyone signing in. I hope everyone's having a good day, afternoon, evening, morning, depending where you are. And on that note, if we could start out as you're signing in, we would love to know where you're calling in from. So if you wouldn't mind dropping that information into the chat, we would be super curious. We love to know where everyone is calling in from, and we'll start to see that soon. Ooh, we had Canada, Ireland, some US stuff, Virginia, London, Boston, wow. And a few announcements as everyone's signing in. If you have the ability to turn your camera on, we would love to see everyone's beautiful faces. Community is very important to us, so we definitely encourage that. If you don't have the ability to turn your camera on, that's okay, no worries. But we would love to see everyone, new and old friends. So yeah, welcome. I'm seeing more people signing in, joining on, turning their cameras on. Great to meet everyone. I'm seeing some Florida, Connecticut, Texas, Montreal. This is great. And so why don't we start, Julia, doing our fun kitchen cam situation? I'll explain that really quick. So something that we like to do, it's modeled after the kiss cam. And what we do is we check in with a few people who will be cooking along with us from their kitchen, and we say hi and ask how you're doing. So who should we say hi to first, do you think?
Yeah, so I'm putting everyone in gallery view. Hi, I'm Julia, and along with Ruby, we are here and excited for today. So I'm glancing around to see who's on video. Mary, looks like you are in your kitchen, so we're gonna spotlight you, say hello, and let us know where you're calling in from. You might be on mute, so unmute if you could. Oh, we still can't hear you. Let's see, on the left-hand side, there's a mute. So we'll give you a moment to find that. We might come back to you, Mary. Let us know when you get unmuted. We've auto-muted everyone because we didn't want background noise. Beth, are you ready to say hello? Oh, you're also on mute. Lots of people are on mute because we put you on mute, but we just want you to quickly unmute so we can have you say hello.
Oh, hi, everybody. I am next to my kitchen, but I am just not cooking along today. I'm taking notes.
And where are you calling in from?
Sounds good.
Bloomington, Minnesota.
Great.
It's really warm out today. It's going to be almost 90 degrees.
Yeah, I think a lot of the US is getting this crazy heat wave. So stay cool.
Thank you.
Yeah, and we welcome every type of viewer here, whether you're cooking along at the moment, if you're just watching and taking notes, trying to learn something new. Tradition Kitchens is for everyone. So yeah, everyone should feel welcome, and we hope everyone does.
We also love multi-generational cooking. So I'm scanning our gallery view and I see Zoe and Aaron. We want to say hello to you. Want to introduce yourselves and tell us where you're calling in from. Make sure to unmute on the left.
Hi, can you hear us?
Yes.
Yeah. I'm Zoe. I'm Erin, and we are in Crested Butte, Colorado. And I just got out of the kayak to rush to make the class.
I just got off of the rocks.
And it's cold here, not 100 degrees.
Wow. Wow, that sounds amazing. I wish we could all join you. Maybe soon. Sounds beautiful. I love it. All right, I think we have time for one or two more quick intros. So I'm just scanning. If anyone wants to say hello, turn on your camera so we can greet you and welcome you to Tradition Kitchens. We have 78 amazing attendees here, which is so exciting. Mary, were you able to get your audio to work? Yes, let's say hi. Take two. No, we can't hear you. This is so sad.
I think it looks like it's not muted, but I wonder.
Might just be her connection. Yeah, you're right. It's not muted. All right, Mary. Say hi to us in the chat. We apologize for the technical difficulties.
It's great to meet you, Mary.
Yes, we're glad you're here. Barbara, you're waving at us. Want to say hi and introduce yourself?
Hi, I'm Barbara from Atlanta, and I'm not cooking today. I'm just watching, but I'm going to cook this for dinner on Friday next week for my daughter and son-in-law.
Amazing.
And I've really enjoyed your classes.
Oh, thank you. Thank you so
Yes.
much for sharing with us.
Eva wants to say hi, and then they'll make this our last one, and then we'll get started. Hi, Eva.
I can't write in the chat because it's Shabbos today, but I couldn't find sesame paste anywhere or miso paste. So can I make it without the sesame paste and miso paste?
Totally, and we'll talk about that later. You can do it with just peanut butter as well, or if you have tahini, you can do that as well. But I'll talk about the differences. It taste slightly different, but you'll find like a combination that works for you.
All right, I think we should take our selfie. Do you think we're ready for that, Julia?
Definitely.
Okay, so we're gonna do a fun thing. If you've been to a class before or have done something like the selfie, you're familiar, but if not, I'll explain very quickly. So it's basically, it's what it sounds like. It's a Zoom selfie. So this is kind of not the last call, but if anyone hasn't turned their camera on and would like to join us, we love to snap a little picture of our community, a little Zoom selfie, if you will. So if everyone can smile, we will take one or two just to make sure no one's blinking or anything. But yeah, aw, I see all the lovely smiles. All right, I'll count us down. 1, 2, 3. And another one. 1, 2, 3. Okay, that was lovely. Thank you so much for joining me for that. That really warms my heart to see everyone smiling. It's great. All right, I think we're going to start moving into things. So I'll say a few words about what Tradition Kitchens is for anyone who is here for the first time, or just to remind any folks as well. Tradition Kitchens is a virtual cooking space, and we really value sharing and community. Those are some of our most important values that we have. So we really love to have chefs from all different cultures, places, walks of life. We really value connectivity between all different kinds of people, whether it's from different places, intergenerations, all those kinds of things. It's really about community and, chatting. And yes, the session will be recorded. I just saw that in the chat. We record the sessions and we have posted to our YouTube channel where we have all the recording sessions, and we have a cooking library that includes the recipes and recordings from previous classes. And after the class is done, we will make an email for you all and send it all to you in case you would like to catch the recording and the recipe again in the future. So yes, you can do that. And yeah, and there's the cooking library in the chat. But yeah, so it's we're very much about storytelling and culture and connecting people. Julia, is there anything you'd like to add to that?
Thank you, Ruby. You are our amazing Tradition Kitchens ambassador, and it's so wonderful to have you leading us today. I just wanted to say a quick reminder for everyone that our classes are about neighbors teaching neighbors, as if we were in the same space together. So our teacher today is an incredible amateur chef, not a professional. So as we're going through, you're going to experience it in real time. So there might be some bumps along the way, but that's what this whole experience is. There probably won't be any bumps, but just want to share that caveat in case anyone is expecting the Food Network. We are not the Food Network. We are just hanging out in each other's kitchens. Also, we know you'll have questions along the way. We're going to do our best to get to everyone's questions, but sometimes when everyone asks them, it can interrupt the flow and the experience. So Ruby will group questions together and interrupt when the time is right. And I just want to say that this is so special. One of the things that has made this Tradition Kitchens thrive has been the ability to connect with amazing people. And I just am really happy that all of you are here, and I'm going to toss back to Ruby to introduce our teacher today, who I've known for a long time, and really happy that we are featuring his dish today. So Ruby, back to you.
Yeah, so welcome everyone. Now that we've officially welcomed you, we're going to turn it over to the cooking demo part of the evening. And as per was the invitation, tonight we're going to be learning spicy cucumber pickles and sesame and peanut butter noodles. So I'm going to turn it over to our chef to give a little intro, and let's make sure it's pinned or spotlighted.
All right. Well, thank you for that intro, Ruby. And Julia, thank you for organizing. Thank you, everybody, for being here today. We've been working on the Wi-Fi and the situation for our 2-camera setup, so hopefully it behaves while I do the demo. But my name is Lishan, as said before, and we're going to do 2 dishes today. They're both really simple, kind of home-style dishes. Right now, it feels like Taiwan today in Brooklyn. I'm at my friend's house. In Brooklyn, it's like almost 90 degrees. It's humid. So I think this is something good for that. The noodles you can serve like warm or kind of room temperature cold. And then the pickles are usually served cold, and you often get them at restaurants as like an amuse-bouche appetizer kind of thing. And they're just good to have like as snacks as well. So why don't we just run through the ingredients quickly, and then we'll go and do this. This honestly doesn't take much time at all. It takes like the time of boiling water to cook the noodles, and then the pickles taste best after they've sat for a couple hours. So we'll make them, but obviously we're not going to sit here and wait for them to marinate for a couple hours. So ingredients. Let's start with the pickle ingredients. So obviously you want cucumber. This is an English cucumber, about 1 pound. I had like a section of another one. We'll just make it all today. And if you find Japanese cucumber in the market, those are great as well. You can use like regular American supermarket cucumbers, but you might want to peel the skin on them because the skins can be quite thick sometimes. So check that out. And I think they're just not as flavorful. So look for the Persian or Japanese cucumbers or the English cucumbers. We will need miso paste. Again, somebody asked earlier if you could substitute. We're going to be using soy sauce as well, or you can have salt as well. So if you don't have miso paste, that's okay. Traditionally, there's like a Chinese, Taiwanese fermented bean product called doubanjiang that's used for this instead, but miso I find easier to find, and I like the mellower flavor. We'll need some sort of hot sauce. I like sriracha because it's everywhere. It's kind of sweet as well. So sriracha, but if you have like a sambal ulek, some other hot sauce, you don't want something like super vinegary. You want something maybe on the sweeter fermented side. And then obviously vinegar. This is rice vinegar. You can use apple cider vinegar. Even balsamic works, but we'll just decrease the sugar levels if you use balsamic. You can find a vinegar that works for you, or like sherry vinegar if you have that around. We have soy sauce. We have a little bit of sesame oil. And then this is a Chinese chili oil here. This is a brand called Lao Gan Ma, and I've also recommended a couple different brands in the recipe. Again, this is like optional, but makes it really nice. Okay, so I just kind of jumped into ingredients, but there's actually a big overlap between what the ingredients are between the pickles and the noodles. It's just on the noodles, we have the addition of like creamy stuff. So this is some sesame paste, and then this is some creamy peanut butter. The regular American or store-bought peanut butter works for this. Sesame paste, I recommend and I use, this is a Taiwanese brand of sesame paste. Japanese brands work really well as well. And they are made out of roasted sesame. So the sesame is roasted first and then ground up. If you have tahini or you like tahini, you can use that too, but the taste will be slightly different because tahini is made out of raw sesame that's ground up. You can kind of make up for it if you have tahini by just adding a little more of the sesame oil here, because sesame oil uses roasted sesames in it. So you'll get that nice toasty flavor there. Okay, so that's it. And then basically some black pepper to taste. If you have Szechuan pepper, which gives you a nice kind of tingly spice, you can also grind that up and use that as well. There's already some Szechuan pepper in this store-bought chili oil, so I didn't prepare any Szechuan pepper today. So those are the ingredients. Basically, I'm gonna also get the water boiling, because again, this is a super quick kind of thing. Today I'm using these ramen style noodles. It's made in Australia, but it's a Japanese style brand called Hakubaku, and you can buy them on Amazon pretty much anywhere in the world. If you like fresh ramen style noodles, you can use a brand called Sun Noodles. They produce fresh ramen for houses across North America, and yeah, either is good. In a pinch, you could just use spaghetti as well. And I put a little trick for spaghetti in the recipe booklet, but basically if you add a little bit of baking soda in your cooking water for like regular store-bought spaghetti, it will approximate the ramen texture because of the alkali in it. And it just prevents it from getting soggy, gives it a nice kind of springy texture. In Taiwan, we have this term called QQ, which is like the English letters QQ, and it just kind of refers to this kind of springy, like it's our equivalent of al dente. Edith asks, soba noodles. Yeah, you could totally use soba noodles, or there's a Japanese noodle called somen, which are these white, very thin noodles that are eaten in the summertime. Those are great too, or like the pasta of your choice totally works, or like fettuccine if you like thicker noodles. Again, this is like a home style thing. This is one of the few things that my dad would cook. My mom did most of the cooking growing up, and this is meant to be something you do out of like pantry ingredients. So it's nothing fancy, and it's super forgiving and super customizable. So you can just, you know, change the proportions of the ingredients however you'd like to match your taste. All right, so I'm going to turn on the stove.
Can I hop in really quick with
Yeah,
an
please.
ingredient question or two? Is that okay?
Absolutely.
So, let me see. We had a question: red or white miso?
Oh, this one I'm using today this is called awase miso, which is like, awase means mix in Japanese. So it's a mix of red and white. The white one is usually a milder flavor. So if you're not used to eating like raw miso, it's a good sort of entry level miso to try it out. It's a little bit sweeter. The red one tends to have more of a fermented funk and can be kind of saltier as well. So that's why I said with the proportions, you got to try it out. It depends on like your brand of miso, of soy sauce, in terms of how salty it is, but either one works for this particular recipe, or the awase, the mixed miso.
And then we also had a request, if you wouldn't mind holding up the chili so that people could see the brand name.
Oh, this one, because I'm cooking at my friend's house, it's not in the original container, but this brand is called Laoganma. It's a Chinese brand. It's I can't type right now, but it's Laoganma, and there's a picture of this like middle-aged Chinese lady on the front. She's the founder of this company, and you can get it on Amazon or in like Chinese markets, Asian markets. But there's another brand that's like a local New York brand called Sea Daddy, like SZE Daddy, and it's made by this Taiwanese restaurant called 886, which is one of the Taiwanese restaurants in the East Village where I lived for many years. So both of those are really good. Cool.
And then Ruby,
Yeah,
did you
James
mention-
just typed in the Chinese characters for Laoganma. So if you're like, if you want to like screenshot that, or like if you need to show somebody at an Asian store for it or to look for it, they can help you. But if you buy it here in the US, it says Laoganma in like in English on the label as well.
So the baking soda made my water overflow,
Uh-oh.
and the pasta's not quite cooked yet. So what should I do?
So the water overflow, ooh, like sometimes you just need a deeper pot, but also like when it starts to boil, just stir it around a lot.
Turned it off. Yeah.
Yeah. If the pasta's not quite done, you might want to just bring it to a simmer and then kind of finish it the rest of the way with the pasta, but it kind of depends on your brand of pasta there.
It's brown rice pasta.
Okay. Yeah, how much baking soda? Usually if I have a pot of,
This is what's
yeah,
happening.
if I have a pot, I'll do like
Yeah.
a tablespoon of baking soda.
See what's happening here? Yeah. Yeah. Can you see that? Yeah.
I am not able to see the screen right now. Let's see.
Okay.
Yeah, we can't see it, but Let's try to troubleshoot it in the chat for you.
See what's happening here?
Oh,
As soon as I turn it on, it goes like that. So I have to turn it on. Oh, oh. Okay.
Yeah. The other thing too is it depends on like different materials for pots for boiling and stuff like that. But if it's making it boil a whole lot, there could just be a lot of like CO2 being released there. So if it's like really problematic, you might have to just change out the water and like cook the pasta the rest of the way. But yeah, it's kind of hard without actually being there to try
Okay,
to
maybe,
do that.
maybe you want to recommend less baking soda. I don't know, or more
Okay.
water.
Thank you for that feedback though.
Thank you.
The question about different lauganma, it's the chili crisp is what it's called in English. It's essentially just, there's some fermented beans in there that give it an umami, and then just like a kind of medium spicy chili that's been cooked in oil. So it's kind of crispy when you bite into it. And that's the brand. That's the most common lauganma product that you can get in North America. But yeah, in China, there's like 20 different kinds in their product line. Any other ingredient questions at the moment before we move on? Okay. All right. We are having some problems with the second camera, so we'll just stick to a one camera setup. So unfortunately, you won't be able to see my cutting board and stuff like that, but literally it's just mixing sauces. The one thing I wanted to show—
timer for 4 minutes.
The one thing I wanted to show is how to break down the cucumbers. And so you can just cut the cucumbers. I'll cut it and hold it up if you wanted to. Like if you wanted to, you could just cut it in like little quarters like this. But what is more fun and a little bit more traditional is to sometimes they smash the cucumbers with like a rolling pin, or if you have like a cleaver, you can do it like this. But I find it like in a home kitchen, it can be kind of messy and a little bit like make a mess. So what I like to do is a kind of hybrid technique. If you can, like if you're able to just break it with your hands, that's great. Like the Japanese cucumbers break really well like this. But if you can't, you can sort of part cut it and then just rip the rest with your hand. So you still want like these kind of bite-sized chunks like that. And I'm just dropping them in my colander here. And so I'll just be ripping the cucumber in these chunks. And the reason why we do this is that it creates irregular edges, which allow the marinade to penetrate more quickly. And it's also just more fun in your mouth because you have like irregularities, right? So some pieces are going to have more marinade, they're going to be different shapes, and it just kind of creates a party in your mouth, and it's good fun. So again, I'll just hold it up a little bit. It's kind of a chunk here. Wash my hands before this. And you're just breaking down the cucumber, and we're going to salt the cucumber for a few minutes once we finish ripping it. This is probably the most work of this whole recipe. And so this one, like I can't, oh, that one I could break. Okay. So I'm just gonna kind of break them into like a handful sized first. And if you need to, you can also use your knife and like cut it lengthwise so it's easier. And then what I do is I stick my thumb into where the seed part is and then just kind of rip like that. Again, it's a little bit messier, but it's not as messier as like the traditional method of like smacking the cucumbers and breaking it up that way. And it's fun. It's like, I find it kind of stress relief, and you can smell the cucumber while this happens. All right. Here you go. This. I've got like a little bit more left. I'll hold it up the whole colander once you see everything is done. But everything should be like about bite size, and it's okay if it's like slightly irregularly sized too. Again, it just kind of adds a little bit of complexity to the taste. And you want to cut off the ends, that kind of like woody bit as well. So I just discarded a little bit of that woody part. All right, almost done. Got a couple more handfuls of cucumber. Good thing I wore a green shirt, so if I get cucumber on me, you can't really see. Okay, rinse my hands. Okay, so hold this up. I just have a colander in a bowl. And what we're gonna do is, cucumbers are super watery. And so we wanna basically put some salt on this, which will start seasoning things, but it will also draw out some of the water. And basically the science of it is, once you draw out some of the water and then put in the marinade, the cucumber cells will kind of try to absorb parts of the marinade to really bring that flavor in. So this, you can just go by sight, but like a teaspoon max of salt. You're not gonna eat all of this salt because it's gonna like fall off and you're gonna squeeze it. So this is really just to help get things going. And then you just want to massage it. This up to the camera. You just want to massage it lightly and then let this sit. Ooh, Finn, I love your idea of smashing yours in a gallon Ziploc. That is fun. And I guess if you're like cooking outside or something, or don't mind the mess, I think it could be fun to like get kids involved in this. All right, so I'm just gonna leave that and sit there. Normally I would let it go for as long as like half an hour. Since we're doing a demo here, I might just leave it for less time. It's really fine, but just let it sit there. I didn't mention earlier, I also have some cilantro, which is totally optional for our noodles later, and then some scallions as a garnish for the noodles as well. But we can talk about marinade now. So let's make the marinade for the pickles. I'm just gonna mix it straight into my bowl here. So we'll start with our miso. I have the exact ingredients or the starter ingredient proportions in the recipe. So I've done this so much that I just kind of do it by sight, and I don't actually have the written recipe in front of me. So I'm just gonna give it like a bit of miso here. Again, it's very hard to like mess this up. The one tip I want to give is, when you taste this before you dress the cucumbers, like it should be salty and it should be intense, because everything's going to mellow out once more liquid comes out of the cucumbers, and you're not like actually eating all of this marinade. So if you're like worried about the sodium and stuff like that, it is salty because it's a pickle, but like you're not eating all of the intensity of all of that. Okay, so I'll do some pepper. We've got our Sriracha sauce. I like stuff pretty spicy and it's hot here, so we will go a generous amount of that. Then we'll also use some soy sauce as well. If you like a sort of lighter color, you don't need to put as much soy sauce. The miso alone also works. There are variations of this that are just like the salt and the garlic and just a tiny bit of soy sauce. Some people like a white version. Mine is sort of a brown and red version with a kind of heavier umami taste. And then a key strong ingredient in this is raw garlic. So this is for people who like raw garlic. You don't have to like actually eat the raw garlic. So if you want to cut your garlic in bigger pieces, you can just leave it to the side when you're eating the cucumber pickles themselves. I like raw garlic, so I kind of cut it a little bit more finely. So we'll do that. This is 3 cloves for like about 1.5 pounds of cucumbers. If that's like too much, you can kind of work your way up from maybe 1 or 2 cloves. And I'll just chop these up. I have another clove of garlic I have on the side that we'll use for the noodle sauce later. If you like, I like raw garlic for this, but I wrote in the recipe notes, like you can use like garlic powder or onion powder for the noodles later too, if you want something a little mellower, if you really want to do like stuff in your pantry from non-perishable stuff. I'm just removing this little green shoot in the garlic. Like it's perfectly edible and won't hurt you, but it some people find it a little bitter. So I'll just do the white bits of the garlic and then just chop it up. I find like salting the garlic before you chop it helps keep it in place on your cutting board too, but it also starts like releasing the garlicky intensity as well. So. And again, this can be fairly irregular. Sometimes they have like bigger chunks. It doesn't have to be like a super fine mince. Definitely don't use that store-bought pre-minced garlic for that. Like that's okay for cooking stuff in a pinch, but you don't really want to be eating that stuff raw because it's a little off flavors because of whatever they do to it in order to put it in a jar. Okay, so that's lots of garlic into my bowl. Okay, so we have miso so far, the sriracha sauce, plenty of garlic, and our soy sauce and black pepper. And then we will also put a little bit of our toasted sesame oil. I wrote in the recipe again, a little bit of this goes a long way. So just start with like a quarter teaspoon to a half teaspoon. You can always put more. Like you don't want this oily, right? It's kind of, it's supposed to be a refreshing pickle, but the sesame oil just helps coat everything in your mouth and gives it a nice kind of toasty flavor to it. We'll also put some lauganma into this now as well. Start with a teaspoon or so. All right. And then there's vinegar, which is the important bit of this. Again, this depends on your brand of vinegar, the kind of vinegar you use, like how sour it will be. I'll start with like a quarter cup or so, but I can put more depending on how it tastes. Okay. And then I will just mix everything up. Because I'm using the miso here, I just have to like basically mash it up against the side of my bowl so that the miso dissolves in everything and just hangs out there. Okay, so let's do a little taste test. I do this by taste and trial and error, but you can start with those recipe proportions that I did test at home. Let's get a tasting spoon. Okay. So you should feel the pucker there. It's spicy, but I like spice. This isn't gonna sort of like knock you on your rear, kind of spicy. It's thick, you can see the consistency here, but it's still watery enough, and it will, again, water down more when the cucumbers release all their water. The one thing I am missing here to balance things out is a little bit of sugar. Just plain white sugar is fine, or if you want to use like agave or some sweetener like that, that's great. I'm going to start with like a teaspoon. I don't like it to be like noticeably sweet, but it definitely helps balance out the other flavors, especially because you've got raw garlic here, chilies in here. So the sweet note, it also helps thicken things and it helps preserve everything as well. So let's give it another taste. Okay. So yeah, the sugar makes a difference, but again, this is like not going to be desserty sweet by any means. It just mellows things out. Okay. So let's pretend that 15 to 30 minutes have passed. I'll show you. Take this and basically just squeeze. And you can see all that water coming out. Ooh, love that close up. Okay. So I'm gonna just do this. Again, gentle massage. You don't want to crush the cucumber too much. You just want to release the water. On a hot day like this, I'll sometimes just drink the cucumber water that comes out of here. It's kind of refreshing, but you can just throw it away too. Let me hold up a piece of cucumber so you can see like there you go. You can see, maybe you can see that. It's gone from like a white, light green to like a more translucent kind of color, which is the salt doing the work, bringing things out. So again, I think this is better if you let it go a little bit more, but for the sake of our demo, we're just gonna move on. So just give it a nice squeeze, toss it in here.
Could I ask a few more questions right now?
Yes, please, this is a great time for that.
So we had a question about the soy sauce. Someone was asking, is it a dark or a light soy sauce?
Yeah, I use a Japanese soy sauce. The dark or light soy sauce is a kind of Chinese and Taiwanese style differentiation. What that means actually is the dark soy sauce is darker in color, and it's actually less salty, whereas the light Chinese soy sauce has more salt in it. This one is a Japanese brand. This is my friend Gary's house. This one is called, this is a pretty nice Japanese brand, but like Kikkoman works great as well. Oops, there we go. So that's fine. I would not use a dark Chinese soy sauce in there. It will make it like the color of the dish too dark. We usually use dark soy sauces for like braises or things that you want it to be dark. So I would use a light soy sauce, but again, taste for the salt. It should taste salty, but not overwhelmingly so. So it's kind of swimming around in here. We're just gonna eat these later. So I'll leave this on the counter. But you can, what you wanna do is like pop these in the fridge. They taste great after a couple hours, but I think like overnight is great. They can last like a week in the fridge, but at my house, they never actually last that long. All right, so are there any other ingredients, questions, or anything like that?
There actually was a question about how long it could last, but you already answered that for us.
Excellent.
And someone was asking what's the name of the soy sauce again that you were talking about?
This brand, because this is like a fancy Japanese soy sauce, this is called Kishibori Joyu from Taksan. It comes from this island called Shodojima. I don't think it even had an English label on it, but there's the most common Japanese soy sauce you can get in the US is called Kikkoman, and that works totally fine. I use that at home all the time. So you don't need a fancy soy sauce for this, but just avoid like a dark soy sauce that is like a little too caramelly or too dark for the color. Okay, any other ingredient questions?
Someone was asking
Cool.
if
Okay.
you would recommend microplaning the garlic from earlier.
That works great as well. Or at home, sometimes I'll use a mortar and pestle. I have one of these like Thai style granite mortar and pestles that work great for that. So you could totally do that. I don't use the microplane a lot because I think it's kind of a pain to wash, but it totally works great. Yeah, this is Gary's phone with that soy sauce. That's what it looks like if you want to screenshot that or go back to there. But yeah, it's Kishibori soy sauce. Kishibori just means it's freshly squeezed. It means it's like it's kind of an unpasteurized product and has more character to it. Anything else? Okay, and so these dishes again, they're like very home style for me, and I make them all the time. You can serve them together, which we will today, but for the noodles, some people also serve it with just plain raw cucumber, kind of julienne or julienne raw carrots. You can also put like salad greens in there, or like the baby spinach, baby arugula, baby mixed salad greens. That tastes great as well. Or you can add a protein to it, so like a grilled piece of tofu or sauteed mushrooms or piece of chicken, whatever you like for this. But again, this is like a pantry thing, and so sometimes I eat it just by itself, and it's got peanut butter in it, so it's fairly high protein. Okay, so this one again, I do by sight, and you have the exact ingredients in the recipe, but basically the only difference between this one and the pickles is that it's creamy. So it's got peanut butter and then the sesame paste here. And I am using, this is 9.5 ounces or 269 grams. And it's like technically a serving of 3 for the noodles. So for that, I'll just do like a couple tablespoons of this stuff to start. I like a fair bit of sauce. And this also thins out as well. Okay, so it's about this much in the bowl. We'll go back to our friend, the raw garlic. Again, the raw garlic is optional. There's actually already garlic in this sriracha sauce too. So if you don't want to be messing with raw garlic, you could just use sriracha. But I kind of like layering my garlic flavors. And, you know, if both you and your date are having this, it's totally okay. Rinsing up this garlic here in the bowl. Similar ingredients to before. This one, like before we were making like a marinade for pickles, the vinegar for this one, it shouldn't necessarily be like sour, but it should offset things because the peanut butter and the sesame are like really rich. And so the vinegar just gives it a sort of brightness. Like think about it as like the equivalent of a squeeze of lemon or a squeeze of lime on something, but it shouldn't be like necessarily assertively sour there. We'll put in a little bit of miso too. Again, miso is optional for this. Plenty of people make this with just soy sauce, but I like to layer my umami on here. Some black pepper. I'm gonna put the rest of this peanut butter in here too. I write in the recipe that you can do this with just pure peanut butter as well. I like the mix of peanut butter and sesame because you get like the best of both worlds. You get the creaminess, you get the nice sort of roastiness. I find like all sesame paste is kind of overwhelming to me. It's like too much roasty sesame. This is sesame oil, so that's going in here. Again, use that sparingly. We'll start with like a third of a teaspoon. We can always add more later when you're serving it. And then soy sauce, this is a little bit as well. And then we've got our lauganma that we'll put in here. This is the chili oil. Again, to taste. And this will be very thick. So I'm gonna thin it out a little bit with some warm water. Room temperature water works fine, but I made some tea before the show. So put that here. Also, after you cook your noodles, there's gonna be water on the noodles. So you can always add water to thin this out, but you can't take water away. So you don't want it to be too runny because then it's not gonna cling to the noodles. It's okay if it's like thick like this, we can always thin it out. Got our sugar. Again, there's sugar in the sriracha already as well, so you don't have to add more sugar, but I think it helps balance things. Maybe a little bit more water. Again, as I said before, this is like super forgiving. You can just do this to your taste. It's good. You can taste the garlic, but it's in the context of the creaminess of the sauce. Again, it shouldn't be like super sweet. The sweetness just balanced things out. Put a little bit more water. Okay. Basically, we just have to cook our noodles at this point. And we'll also cut some scallions for garnish. But let's do that while the noodles cook. So normally I multitask, but I don't multitask and do a demo. So let's see. Actually, can I ask my kitchen assistant to help with this? Thank you. Also, for these Japanese noodles and for a lot of Asian noodles, you don't have to do the Italian thing of salting the water because they actually salt the noodles already. And it says it on the instructions here, but I'm just going to follow this exactly. They say ready in 4 minutes. Now you do have to watch out because there's like paper rings on this to portion it out. So you don't want to cook that. Oh. Not a Julia Child disaster. Okay. Here we go. This will disappear off camera. Okay. Just make sure these noodles go in here. I'll set my timer at 3 minutes and 50 seconds because they've been in there for a little bit. And we'll let it go. Okay. So in the meantime, I'm happy to take questions. I'm just going to chop up my scallions here. Let's do it finely. I'm not going to look at the chat while I'm using a knife, but if folks want to chime in or ask any questions, or our host can voice over anything, I'm happy to chat.
Yeah, I think one thing I would love to ask you about is how did this recipe come into your life? What's the story behind it being meaningful to you and your family?
How did it come into my life? This was like, as I mentioned earlier, like my mom did most of the cooking growing up, but this was like one of the few things my dad would do. And it was like the sort of thing where it was easy. You can make it out of things that you already have in your pantry. I don't think he ever taught it to me directly. It was just like, okay, I've seen this happen. It's so transparent when you see the like making of this stuff. And because it's so modular, like you can basically customize it however you'd like as well. And so then I just started like, especially for like hot summer months and stuff like this, because it works sort of warm or room temperature, I would just bring it to like parties and picnics and barbecue type things, and people would just eat it up. And so it just kind of became a signature thing that I was known for. My partner loves it. So I make it for him, and he doesn't cook much at all, but this is a thing that he can make and he does well. All right, so this is kind of pasty now. It's got the scallions mixed into it. The hot noodles are gonna go in here, and it will partially cook the scallions too. So if you're worried about like a kind of strong oniony taste, it should be fine with that heat happening there. All right, we still have about a minute and a half on the noodles, so we can take some more questions until then, if folks have any, or we can just chat. This has been super fun, by the way.
We agree. Looks like people are smiling in response to that too.
The other thing I'll say is that you can also just put some of these condiments out on the table. So if you have people with like different tastes and different preferences, like you probably don't want to use miso as a condiment, but like you can put soy sauce, sesame oil, and a sriracha vinegar, the chili oil. So if people want to adjust it to their own taste, they certainly can. I also have a little bit of cilantro here. I know cilantro is polarizing, but I think it gives it a nice sort of refreshing herbal kind of quality. So I'll just put this on top as a garnish, but I'm not going to mix it into the sauce because I don't want the leaves to wilt too much.
Yeah, I know. Let us know in the chat if you are pre or for or against cilantro. I love it, but it is super controversial. I'm pinning a few amazing chefs who are cooking along with us. So if you all wanted to kind of share how it's going, and Gwen, I was trying to pin you too to show us this picture you had. But Zoe and Aaron and Finn, how's it going? Ooh, feel free to unmute and let us know.
That is so cool. I love how you were showing us you making stuff. This is so exciting.
Oh, and Eva too. Oh wait, I'm gonna add a few more spotlights for everyone to take a look.
Doing well. It's challenging to not be measuring things.
I've already started eating it. It's delicious.
Well, thank you. And yeah, I know it can be challenging without the measures, but do check out the recipe. As again, it's a starter and it's so forgiving. Like if it's like you add a little bit more of something, you like add more of something else to balance it out. So it's like, oh, if you remember, you can always add more. You don't need to so you can go light on stuff and then balance it out. Okay, so my pasta is ready. I'll just get it into my bowl here. My sauce is very thick, so I'll add additional water here. You might have seen like an Italian technique where they keep the pasta water, which has starch in it, and use it to thicken a sauce. But for this, you don't want to do that because the sauce is already really thick. So if you want water, you can just add like regular warm water in there. You don't need to like add additional starch to thicken a very thick sauce. So everything is in here. I've got some tongs. I'm just mixing it here. Actually, maybe this wooden spoon is better. And it smells great here because the heat from the noodles is activating the oils and the peanut butter and the sesame. You just want to coat it. This definitely needs a little bit more water. So I'll put some water here. Okay, so this is what it looks like. I'm gonna garnish it up real pretty so you get your Instagrammable moment. These are just some black and white sesame seeds, tuxedo sesame seeds. You can do that. If you have like roasted peanuts, you can chop those up and do that as well. I'm just gonna be fancy and do another drizzle of chili oil. So you get some red. You're thinking about like color balance if you want to make this fancy, or you can just eat the whole thing as is. And then I'm going to be liberal with my cilantro. Okay, so let me just hold it up and show you what the final grammable look is. I'll take a photo on my phone. Yeah. Okay, I'm just gonna do my gram here. There we go. Here we go. Real good lights. We'll do the food photography later, but this is basically it. You can eat it hot right away. Like again, add any vegetables or proteins you want to this. This is really good, like room temperature or cold, but just note that because of the peanut butter and the sesame, it will kind of like congeal. So you just want to add a little bit more water into it. I feel like eating this cold, having a little bit more vinegar works well. And then I also had suggestions in the recipe if you wanted to dress it up in different ways. So there's a similar noodle to this that's like a Japanese cold noodle that's great in the summertime. You can just add some Japanese Kewpie mayonnaise into here, some more vinegar, a little bit of mustard, and maybe decrease the peanut butter and increase the sesame, and you basically get that. So this is fun. You can play with it. Think about it as like a basic like master recipe that you can experiment with and take in your own directions. And then again, I'll show you the final cucumber here. I snuck a taste. It's good. I feel like the marinade's in the right place, but just giving this like another hour or so or overnight will really soak in the flavor even more. So, and it tastes really good when you have it cold. All right. So it looks like we have like 5 minutes or so left. Happy to answer any questions, or if more folks have things that they want to show from their cooking, we can look at that as well. Ooh, I like Mary's idea of finely chopped jalapenos for garnish as well, or like baby bell peppers, thinly sliced. Those are nice too. Like think about the colors too, or like if you've got tofu, if you have like egg, like tamagoyaki, like the Japanese like egg cold omelet kind of thing sliced up, that's really nice as well. Even like hard-boiled egg if you just want to add some more protein, but plenty of protein in here already. All right, let me turn it back to Ruby and Julia. There's anything else they wanted to add, or oh wow, Zoe and
Yeah.
Aaron, that's so cool.
Looks
It's so
awesome.
great to be able to share this recipe with you all. I love how you have the fancy ramekin.
Yeah, I'm looking around. Let us know if you have also been cooking with us. I saw a few people in their kitchens. Maybe people are gonna cook later. So I'm just kind of scanning to see if anyone
All right.
else we should showcase, but it's hard to tell. We've got a lot of people deeply tuned in, so they might be cooking later. All right. Any
Lovely.
final questions for our amazing teacher?
All right, I'm drinking a Taiwanese tea with this to keep with the theme. This is a tea called Oriental Beauty. I got it from a place called Tay Company, TE Company. They're based in the West Village of New York, but they do mail order across the country as well. This was apparently one of Queen Victoria's favorites, and it's an oolong style tea, and I'll give you a little bit of the gross backstory, but it's like makes it good. It's tea that's been bitten by a certain kind of aphid, and like the aphid is not in the tea, so don't worry about it. But basically, when it gets attacked by the bug, the tea releases some chemicals as like a self-defense mechanism, but it makes it taste very floral. Like it's almost like a little bit rose, like a rose kind of perfumey kind of taste, and you get that like oolong dark kind of flavor too. So I think it's great if you want to try it out. Oriental Beauty.
Interesting. Can I ask you, is that a politically correct name still, or how do you feel? Because I've heard the use of the word Oriental is not necessarily appropriate anymore.
Yeah, it still says it on the label because like in Chinese, it's called, in Mandarin, here, let's pull this up. It's called Dongfang Marin. And so it's like a beautiful person, usually kind of female of the East. But I haven't seen what the like politically correct name for it is because of the kind of historical aspect of the tea.
Thank you for the D&I, diversity and inclusion lesson. We appreciate it.
Of course.
Yeah, it's also Asian Pacific Islander History Month right now in May. So it's great to be able to celebrate this month and learn so many wonderful things about different cultures. There are a couple other like fun questions. Ruby, do you see these in the chat? You want to ask them?
Yeah, so we had a few questions about like adding other things. So someone was
Sure.
asking, can we add other vegetables to the pickles?
Adding other vegetables to the pickles. I've typically just done it with cucumbers. You want something that's like relatively neutral and refreshing because it's a counterpoint to the marinade. But if you try it with other vegetables, definitely let me know how it goes. I think it'd be good too with like as like a tofu marinade, just like cold like blocks of tofu and like have it soak that stuff up. Or it's a good sauce for like cold pulled chicken as well. If you just like poach chicken and peel it apart into shreds, like it's a good topping for that. But in terms of other vegetables, yeah, try it and let me know.
And then someone was asking actually about tofu, but for the peanut sauce.
Mm-hmm.
If that would work.
Yeah, you can totally do. So you could either just get like a firm tofu or like roast tofu or pan fry tofu if you want it hot, or like to keep it nice and refreshing, if you get like a silken tofu, like maybe like a little bit of it, a quarter cup, you could blend it in as well. So if you were making it the sauce in a food processor or a blender, just blend the tofu in too, and it just kind of adds this silky richness to the sauce. It's another variation of the sauce you could try out. So either blend it in if it's a soft tofu, or just kind of on top if it's a firmer tofu.
And Gwen wanted to show an exciting sauce that she has for everybody. So I'm gonna spotlight you, Gwen, to share as we do like a little show and tell. So Gwen, would you turn on your video and I can spotlight you when it's on? And as we wait for you, let's see, I'm looking for you. Gwen, hold on, hold that thought. Let's see, Gwen wanted to show this to us. Can you unmute and tell us a little bit about this picture?
Is this the one he was talking about?
Yes,
that lady in the middle? This is the one you were talking about?
Yeah, that's the Laoganma. Just look for it's labeled chili crisp in English. Sometimes if you get the brand straight from China, it doesn't have an English label, but the most common version of Laoganma, that is the brand, is the chili crisp. And
but it has peanuts inside, right? It has peanuts.
I think so. I don't have the original bottle with me because I'm at a friend's house, so I put it in a smaller thing. I think it has like a fermented bean, like a soybean or something inside, but maybe there's peanut in there as well. But there's definitely a crunch to it and some like umami things going on.
So this is the one that you are referring to?
Yes,
okay.
I think so, yeah.
Okay.
I can't actually read it because it's small, but that is the brand.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool.
I have if you look at the recipe, I think I linked to the Amazon version of it if you want to get it from Amazon.
Thank
Great.
you.
Great. Thank you. Thank you. All right. I think this is a wrap in an hour. Amazing timing, amazing dish. Can't wait to hear. Ruby, I will toss it to you to close and mention our upcoming classes and next steps for all the curious attendees.
So just want to thank everyone for joining us. We really appreciate you coming. And I also want to thank our teacher for tonight. This was awesome. And I am so jealous of anyone who has, especially I'm looking at those noodles. They look amazing. I always love peanut butter and sesame noodles so much. So I will hopefully be making that soon. And just a few follow-ups things. As I said before, I'm just going to reiterate for anyone who wasn't there at the time or anything like that. We're recording the class currently, and we'll be sending out that along with the recipe in an email to all you guys. I also put the links for our YouTube channel and our cooking library earlier in the chat, but those will also be sent to you. And the recipe and the stuff obviously isn't up quite yet, but we will be putting that more definitively out for everyone later. So thank you for joining us. And you can also browse for future classes. We'll send you a little to our Eventbrite page. And yeah, so we hope to see everyone again in the future. We would love to have you back. And thank you for joining us.
Yeah. Thanks for having me. Perfect timing because I'm running out of batteries.
Thank you. The modern marvels. Thank you, Lishan. This was amazing. Everyone, feel free to show your appreciation. Next class is May 30th, macarons with Dina. So be sure to join us as we go sweet, from savory to sweet. Have a great rest of your day, afternoon, morning, night. Bye, everyone.
Bye.